The lights still glow. The fountains still dance, but anybody walking the Strip today can feel it. Something has shifted. The crowds that once packed every sidewalk, every table, every casino floor have thinned into an eerie quiet that no billboard can hide. Behind the glitter, a deeper story is unfolding, one that reveals more than just weak tourism numbers. It exposes a city caught between who it was and who it thinks it wants to become. The shift didn't happen overnight. During an earnings call that raised more eyebrows than confidence, Caesars CEO Tom Reeg said the quiet part out loud. They were kicking out the lowest end. A year later, MGM echoed the same sentiment in calmer words. Vegas no longer wanted budget travelers. It wanted quality customers, code for wealthier guests. But Vegas was never built on velvet ropes and curated exclusivity. It grew on $5 blackjack tables, cheap buffets, free parking, and the belief that anyone, from a truck driver to a teacher, could feel like somebody for a night. So what happens when the city designed for the masses decides the masses no longer matter? Tourism dips turn into empty tables. Empty tables turn into layoffs. And suddenly, the Strip begins to lose the very people who kept it alive. The unraveling of Las Vegas didn't begin with empty tables or quiet casinos. It began with two sentences spoken at the top of the food chain. The first came from Tom Reeg, CEO of Caesars, who said openly, "You're bringing in higher value customers and you're already full, so you're kicking out the lowest end. I see no reason that needs to or would stop." He didn't walk it back. He didn't clarify. It wasn't an accident, it was a direction. Then came MGM's Bill Hornbuckle, confirming the strategy in calmer but equally revealing words. We weren't chasing budget travelers anymore. Together, those two quotes formed the blueprint for a new Vegas, one designed to trade volume for perceived value, crowds for exclusivity, and the middle class for a wealthier, narrower audience. But the Strip was never built for narrowness. It thrived on scale, on the teachers, retirees, road trippers, and small-stakes dreamers who filled every seat, every slot, every buffet line. When corporate leaders declared that these people were no longer the target, they weren't just adjusting a business model. They were dismantling the foundation that kept Vegas alive. The fallout was immediate. Higher minimums replaced casual tables. Free perks vanished. Affordable rooms morphed into luxury-priced check-ins. Vegas didn't quietly shift its priorities. It loudly announced that the Riff Raff no longer belonged. And the moment the city decided it didn't need the people who made it lucky, the luck began to run out. When the Strip raised prices and pushed away its middle-class visitors, the first group to feel the collapse wasn't the tourists. It was the workers who kept Las Vegas alive. Dealers, bartenders, servers, cab drivers, housekeepers, the people who built the experience began noticing the shift long before the headlines did. A veteran dealer told us, "Weekdays feel like someone unplugged the city. We open tables, but no one sits down." A bartender near Flamingo described it even more bluntly. "My tips are half of what they were. Prices doubled, customers halved." For workers who rely on volume, the decline isn't just visible, it's painful. A waitress at the Flamingo said, "It feels like we lost the middle," echoing what thousands of workers quietly admit but rarely say aloud. Taxi drivers now circle McCarran Airport longer than tourists stay inside casinos. Small shop owners along the Strip tell us their foot traffic has dropped so sharply that some nights feel like the pandemic all over again. And at the training level, even the future is fading. David Knoll from SEG Dealer School revealed, "Enrollment is dropping. People aren't chasing the dream anymore. When the workforce pipeline dries up, the city loses its heartbeat. Because Vegas isn't just casinos and neon, it's people. And when the people who kept the light shining can no longer survive in the very city they powered, the decline stops being a statistic and becomes a human story." For months, the warning signs were subtle: quieter hallways, slower tables, shorter lines. But then the numbers arrived, and they confirmed what workers and tourists had been whispering. The decline wasn't a feeling. It was measurable. Visitor volume fell sharply, dropping 11% this June alone. The city recorded 1.5 million fewer tourists in the first half of the year. Weekday occupancy slid to levels locals say they haven't seen since the post-recession slump. A longtime front desk employee at a mid-strip hotel told us, "Weekends feel normal, but by Tuesday it's like someone flipped a switch. Half the rooms stay dark." The data backs her up. Weekday rooms across major resorts are sitting half empty, with some properties reporting occupancy below 70% for the first time in a decade. Even casinos aren't immune. Slot revenue has dipped. Table play is thinning. One dealer told us, "We used to open 15 tables on a Monday. Now we open 5 and close 2 before lunch." But the hardest truth comes from those who study the numbers for a living. An economist at UNLV explained, "Vegas isn't bouncing back in the way it normally does. These aren't temporary dips. They're structural changes. In a city built on momentum, the slowdown is more than financial. It's existential. Because when the rooms stay empty and the tables stay quiet, the Strip loses the one thing it can't replace: movement." As the Strip emptied out, Vegas made one critical miscalculation. It assumed the people it pushed away had nowhere else to go. But they did, and they left quickly. Some drove 2 hours south to Laughlin, which reported a 17% boost in gaming revenue. Others shifted to Mesquite, where casinos saw nearly 10% growth. A local business owner there told us, "We're seeing people who used to be loyal to Vegas. They say it feels like the old days, friendly, affordable, human. But the biggest migration didn't happen on highways. It happened on phones." In July alone, online casinos pulled in over $1.7 billion, up more than 20% from last year. A 32-year-old former Vegas regular told us, "Why should I pay $55 in resort fees just to lose money? I can gamble from home with better odds and keep my dignity." His sentiment echoes across the internet. Live stream casinos, mobile blackjack apps, digital slots, they're becoming the new weekend getaway for millions who feel priced out of Vegas. And the irony is brutal. In trying to push out the so-called low-value customers, Vegas gifted them to an industry that never closes, never charges for parking, and never judges a bankroll. The same players who once packed the Strip are now fueling its biggest competition. And every empty table in Vegas is a reminder that the exodus wasn't accidental. It was engineered. Vegas believed that chasing wealthier visitors would unlock a new golden era. But there was one flaw in the plan: the rich don't need Vegas. They never did. A high-stakes gambler we spoke to put it plainly: "If I want real luxury, I go to Monaco or Singapore. Vegas feels forced now, like it's trying too hard to be what it's not." His words echo a truth executives underestimated. The Strip poured billions into high-end restaurants, designer shops, and VIP lounges, yet the very people they built them for have countless alternatives around the world where exclusivity is natural, not manufactured. Meanwhile, the shift toward luxury severed the city from the energy that made it famous. The $100 blackjack tables stayed half empty. Private lounges sat pristine but unused. Even the big resorts felt the chill. A manager at a top-tier property told us, "Weekends still pop, but weekdays? Our whales aren't enough to keep the floors alive." And beneath the neon, workers confirm the same pattern. Rich guests tip less, they stay shorter, they don't mingle, they don't create buzz. The irony is sharp. In chasing elite customers, Vegas cut out the middle-class dreamers who filled the rooms, the restaurants, the casinos, and created the atmosphere the rich actually enjoyed. The city tried to reinvent itself as a luxury playground, but it forgot the secret that sustained it for decades. Vegas wasn't powerful because it was exclusive. It was powerful because it was for everyone. In the middle of Vegas's downward spiral, one resort did the unthinkable. It reversed the trend. While the Strip was adding fees, Resorts World quietly removed them. No resort fee. Free parking, straightforward pricing. And almost overnight, the results were impossible to ignore. Occupancy climbed, weekday rooms filled, social media lit up with travelers saying, "Finally, a place that gets it." A family from Texas told us, "We gave up on the Strip, but we came back because someone actually respected our wallet." Even employees noticed the difference. A front desk worker said, "You could feel the energy shift. People checked in happier. They weren't starting their trip angry." The move wasn't magic, it was math. When you stop punishing visitors before they even unpack, they respond. They return. They spend. Convention attendance rose more than 10% that month, and Resorts World became a rare bright spot in an otherwise fading skyline. Industry analysts called it a wake-up call, with one expert noting, "It proves demand was never the problem, the value equation was." The irony stings. Vegas spent years chasing luxury, exclusivity, and higher prices, only to be outperformed by the one resort that brought back the basics: clarity, fairness, and respect. For a brief moment, people said it felt like old Vegas, the version built on energy, not extraction. And in a city desperate for momentum, this experiment didn't just work, it exposed the path forward. The deeper truth behind Vegas's decline isn't just economic, it's human. This city was never powered by money alone. It was powered by emotion, the thrill of possibility, the equality of chance, the belief that everyone, from a truck driver to a tech CEO, could sit at the same table and feel the same spark. But somewhere along the way, leadership tried to rewrite that formula. A UNLV economist told us, Vegas is forgetting the psychology that made it work. When people feel unwelcome, no price point can fix that. And he's right. Because the real damage isn't the rising fees or the empty tables, it's the erosion of trust. A local who's lived in Las Vegas for 30 years summed it up perfectly. Old Vegas made you feel like somebody. New Vegas makes you feel like a customer. That shift, subtle, corporate, silent, is what people are reacting to. Even wealthy visitors, the very group Vegas chased, recognize it. One VIP guest told us, "It doesn't feel organic anymore, the magic is staged, the value's gone." When the experience becomes engineered instead of earned, the illusion fades. And when the illusion fades, Vegas loses the one currency stronger than money: belief. For decades, the city thrived, not because it was luxurious, but because it was alive, loud, human, imperfect, accessible. Now, the quiet creeping over the Strip isn't just a downturn, it's a mirror. It reflects a city wrestling with its identity, torn between being a luxury brand and a cultural icon of possibility. The question isn't whether Vegas can come back. It always does. The question is whether it remembers who it was built for in the first place. Vegas used to be the great equalizer, a place where a plumber from Phoenix and a lawyer from Los Angeles could sit side by side and feel the same thrill. But somewhere along the way, the city traded belonging for branding. Now the question isn't whether the lights will stay on. They always do. The question is whether Vegas can bring back the people who made those lights matter. If you believe the city should return to value, fairness, and the spirit of old Vegas, share this story. Because the more people speak up, the harder it becomes for CEOs to ignore. Vegas wasn't built by billionaires, it was built by everyone who believed in the dream.